Jason Brook here with Clear Creek Farm. How we doing today? Today we're going to be talking about the cost of raising a goat. We're going to go into the feed cost side of actually raising a goat. So that way you know when you go to sell an animal what it's costing you just to get the next animal. So if you have a doe coming that you've been raising all year waiting for a kid, when that doe pops out 2 kids and stuff, what cost do you have to get just to break even? And that's what we'll be talking about today.
So this is a subject that's near and dear to my heart. I love numbers. I love talking about economics. And obviously there's going to be some variables that go along with this because we all don't do it exactly the same. We all don't feed exactly the same. We don't all pay exactly the same for hay. But for the most part, this is average prices. And I know most of us do this as a hobby. It's not something that we make a living off of. But with that said, at the end of the day, it's still a business. And you still have to be aware of the numbers. You can't just be throwing money out the window or flushing it down the toilet. You need to actually be aware of how much you're spending and how much it's costing to raise these animals. Because you don't want to sell something for less than what it costs you to raise it out. Because then all you're basically doing is paying someone to come and take the animal from you. It's totally defeating the purpose of doing this. I mean, you should at least be trying to break even. Because if not, it's bad business sense. So please don't do that. Don't do that.
So first thing we're going to talk about is like everybody that feeds any type of animal, you're going to have, especially goats, you're going to have hay cost. You're going to have your feed cost. I'm going to go into numbers on what we do. You can enter your number into this anywhere you want to figure out what it costs you to raise an animal. Right now, the national average that I've found so far from doing researching and talking to people, average is $150 a ton for quality hay. Most people are paying anywhere from $3 to $5 a bale. A lot of places are paying way more than that. I would say our average cost for hay for us is about $4 to $5 a bale by the time it's said and done with, put in our barn and everything. So that's the big cost there is $5 a bale. They say the average goat should eat between 3 and 4 pounds of hay per day. So when you divide that out, the $5 a bale to 3 to 4 pounds per day, you end up with about 20 cents per day per animal just for your hay cost. So right there, you're starting out at 20 cents per day for your animal. Feed.
And that's per animal.
That's per animal.
Per animal.
Like with us, we run one type of feed, actually 2 types of feed on our farm actually. We run a show feed and then we run a buck show feed. That's the only types of feed we run on here, our farm. There's a lot of people that feed 15% goat or something else. So you'd have to figure out what your cost per bag to figure it out exactly for you. With us, we're averaging about $16.50 a bag for a 50-pound bag of show feed for us, which is 33 cents per pound. So for us, we average anywhere from 2 pounds a day to 4 pounds a day. It all depends on the goat. I'm going to break it down into the does, our show does, what they get on average for the whole year, and I will break it down for animals that are on our farm that are just brood does. Then we'll go into what it takes us to get them up to that 1.5 year age. Then we'll get them up to the bucks and the show bucks that we keep on our farm.
I also want to point out that this is for just hay and feed. This is not for medications. This is not for vet costs. This is not for maintenance, like stuff like rack, like fences or siding. This is not for bedding. This is simply just for feed. So the totals that we're going to tell you that we found for just feed, you're going to have to add a little bit more to that for all those other things that I just mentioned. So this is not exactly what our end cost is, because we have to add in those other few things.
I figured it's about $150 to $200 per animal just for the extras per year. So when you're averaging it out over your whole herd, you know, that could be a little bit or it could be a lot. If you have an animal that's sick all the time, it's going to be more because you're going to have to call the vet out. You're going to have to put medicine in them and stuff. These are just numbers to get people thinking about, hey, geez, I just had this kid hit the ground and somebody wants to pay me $100 for it. And we're trying to show people that getting a quick $100 ain't always the best thing to do. You're better off to raise up quality animals and get the prices that you need to take and be able to at least break even. It's a hobby, but you got to break even at least.
The only way that it would work basically for someone to sell weaned kids for at market price is if you're doing a large commercial operation where all you do is basically your does are on pasture, browse, or maybe supplemental hay, and the kids are on mamas from birth to 8 weeks, and then you ship them straight off to market. That's pretty much the only way that you're going to be able to sell kids from market price and break even.
Yeah, because you're not going to be able, from my numbers raising show animals, my numbers and stuff are showing way higher cost than it is. Even with twins hitting the ground, you're still going to have to make a significant amount. Yes, there's animals we lose on every day. There's animals that get shipped off to the local market just because they don't make the cut and they don't fit our quality of animals that we want to raise. So that's where we see the cost, but we want people to be informed. That's why we do this. That's why we do these YouTube videos. That's why we're starting up other things to inform people, help people out. So let's get into the brood does first here. Average, and these are yearly cost unless I specifically say that they're not. A brood doe getting 3 to 4 pounds of hay a day for hay is going to cost you $219 a year for one doe. So if you wanted to bump that up a little bit more and you only wanted to feed hay to your brood does, let's say $250. So if she gives you twins just to break even, you're going to end up having to get $125 each at weaning. I'm not talking about saving them for a couple more weeks, putting a little extra weight on them. At weaning, you need to make at least $125 off of each of the kids, if she gives you 2, just to break even. Then you add feed cost in there, and our brood does, on average, they get 1 pound per day, so a half pound in the morning, a half pound at night, up until they're ready about a month out before weaning, or before kidding. Then we bump them up to 3 pounds, which is a pound and a half in the morning, pound and a half at night. So that way they can get that milk production up and going and get them so that way they don't lose all their conditioning, all their weight and everything when they kid out. And then they're on that for basically 120 days. So 3 months they're on 3 pounds a day, and that's from
3 or 4 pounds a day.
yeah, 3 to 4 pounds a day. But I did it on 3 pounds with my numbers on 3 pounds. So you're gonna have for 245 days, they're gonna be on 1 pound a day basically to maintain them, grow them kids inside them. That's $80.85 just to raise them on the show feed that we feed at $16.50 a bag. If you're paying less per bag, you can figure it out. And then for 120 days, on average, give or take some, these ain't exact numbers. It's going to cost you $118.80 to raise them for 100 or have them does maintained for 120 days while they have a kid on their side or 2 kids on their side. So that comes out to a total of $199.65 per year just to feed a brood doe that basically all she does is produce you kids. So if she gives you twins on that feed cost, you're going to have to be at least, just for feed, you're going to have to be another $100, give or take a little bit. So you've got a total of $418.65 is what the total for a brood doe that all she does is produce kids. That don't include anything else. That's just for her to produce kids. Is $418.65. So right there shows you that basically you're going to have to sell your kids for $200 a piece at weaning. That's not any, that's just to break even on that doe for that year is $200, a little over $200 a doe at weaning.
We'll get into this a little bit more later, but if you keep the kids, how many she has, longer than weaning to let it grow a little bit. I mean, we personally don't sell anything that's less than 6 months old. We just like to see what they look like. And you're going to have to factor in that you're going to feed that kid. And you got to, once they're weaned, they're eating feed. And you're going to have to figure that you're going to have to feed that kid. So unless you're selling them at weaning for break-even price, you're going to have to factor in at least another $50 to $100 on to the price if you keep it for another month.
So now let's go into our show does. Our show does are on average 3 pounds per day. And we keep them pretty consistent from the time at the beginning of the year when we wean off kids to them. We might bump them up a little bit to 4 pounds to get some weight back on them if they need some. But the show does pretty much average 3 pounds per day, 365 days a year.
Well, unless they do get, during breeding season, they do get slacked off because they need to go on diets.
But on average, you're at 3 pounds a day. So the hay cost is the same, $219. So right there, $219. Plus you got to add the feed cost into that. Feed cost on 3 pounds a day for 365 days a year is $361.35. So total is $580.35 to raise a show doe 365 days out of the year. So right there, if she drops you 2 kids on the ground, and we always hope they do, we know there's times where we get singles, and I'm not saying every time you need to make money or break even. There's times that you get twins and or singles that you get what you get. But just to start off, you're $580 in the hole just to raise that goat for the whole year. Yes, you've shown her and you've done all that stuff.
And this one here is really goes towards the donor does, the ones that you don't actually breed, you just flush, and then you got to add in the price to flush. So basically, this is how you would raise a donor doe. all year. And this is the price that you would have to get out of those flush kids.
Yeah, just to break even. So if you do a flush and you get 5 kids and stuff, you better do it. Hope they're good enough to where you're getting, $500-$600 out of them at weaning. I'm not throwing in the numbers yet if you save them longer to raise them up. Most all our does that we think that are any good that should go into somebody's show string, they're here on the farm for at least another year and a half after that. We will go into that a little bit more here and stuff. I think I'm going to save the bucks. We're going to do the bucks on a separate episode, but we're going to go into the young show does to tell you the numbers on them. So where you got to start thinking more about what it's going to cost you to raise your animals. Yes, it's a hobby, but we all want to make money. That's where the point is. I mean,
well, even if you're not in this, even if you're just in this because you like the animals and you're not in it to make money, you should still at least be breaking even. I mean, if you don't break even, it's just, to me, it's just bad business sense. I mean, why would you want to wait? Why would you want to lose money? Why would you work hard for your money so you can put it into these animals that you love, but you should at least be making enough from them to break even to make that money back.
So now let's talk about these kids that we just weaned off these does that cost us anywhere from $420 for a brood doe to $580 for a show doe or a donor doe. Let's talk a little bit about the weaning kids that we weaned. Like she said, we don't usually move any of these kids out until they're at least 6 months old, unless they're weather or something like that.
4-H weathers we sell.
4-H weathers, as soon as they're weaned, they go to their new home. But from 6 months to or from weaning to 6 months, it's 182 days. On average, at 6 months old, from weaning to 6 months old, you're at $96.72. So basically $100 to raise a kid. And I don't care if it's a buck or a doe, it costs you another $100 to get them to 6 months old. So right there, you already had either $580 for a show doe or $420 basically for a brood doe. You just added another $100 on them if you're just breaking even on them kids to sell them down the road. So to sell a kid for $100 at 6 months old is not something you want to do.
Even $300, don't.
Right.
Don't do it.
Yeah, even at $300, you're barely breaking even if you're lucky.
You're losing money, and like I said, you're basically paying someone to come to your house or meet up or whatever you're gonna do to take the animal off your hands. You're paying them. It's not the other way around.
Right. It might feel good when you do it at first, but in the whole scheme of things, when you start figuring out numbers and stuff like that, it's not worth it. So now let's talk about these young does, 6 months to a year and a half old, because you don't want to start breeding until they're at least a year and a half anyways. A lot of people go by poundage, weightage, and stuff like that on what it takes to be able to start producing kids out of them. We always wait until they're at least that year and a half.
16 months.
Right. Right in that range where you're going to be starting to breed them. These younger does and stuff, they average 2 pounds per day per goat just to maintain them and maybe put some extra weight on them if you're going to show them. You might want to bump it up a little bit more if you're showing them. But we found 2 pounds a day usually works pretty good on these young does. So at 2 pounds a day plus your 3 pounds of hay, you're at, for feed, you're at $240.90 for that next year, from that 6 months to a year and a half, where you can start breeding them. And then you're at $219 because it's still a year time frame for your hay, which is $459.90. So just even if you sold one or two to break even on that mother that you had that had this baby, just now that you kept that for a year, you got to be another $450, $500 just to break even on that doe to cover her cost. So selling animals for less than $500-$600, even weaning to 6 months, it's hard to say that's a good deal for you. It's a good deal for the person buying them.
It's a good deal for the buyer, that's for sure.
So, anything else you want to add on this? All right. Hope this helped you guys out. If you guys have any questions, comments, I'm going to leave my information down below in the description. Feel free to leave your comments on there. We'll get back to you as soon as possible. There's times where we don't get able to check it for a couple days. So leave your comments on there. Go check us out on Clear Creek Board Goats on Facebook. Check out our website, clearcreekboardgoats.com. There's information on there. We're trying to upgrade that a little bit or improve it a little bit where there's informational stuff on there or more informational stuff. If you have young kids that are into goats or wanting to learn more about goats, we do a giveaway that we give away a doe kid every spring. It opens up in May. It's an essay contest. All the information is over on our website, clearcreekboardgoats.com. The entries can be sent in as of May 1st, and it runs May 1st through May 15th, and then we will announce the winner after that. So thank you for coming along. We will have another video on the cost of raising bucks. So thank you for coming along. Have a great day, and see you guys on the next video.